This is a new show called Straight Lions Talk. All we do here is talk Detroit Lions football, whether it's the regular season, the NFL draft, free agency, anything that has to do with the Detroit Lions. We're going to talk about, or anything you guys want to talk about. Hey, throw out some ideas. Maybe we can discuss it. Maybe we can figure some things out. I invite everyone's opinion. Uh, right now is the first day they can legally talk to free agents. Teams can. Uh, As for the Lions in free agency, they have about $18 million right now to spend. But we all know that the biggest free agent out there is Ndamukong Suh. Is he going to be back? Is he going to be a Lion in 2015? That's the $100 million question. Is Ndamukong Suh going to be back in Detroit? Right now, it doesn't look great if you read everything. But the Lions are being real quiet, so it's hard to say where the Lions stand. They're just being real quiet in the situation, which is good. It's a good thing. They're not showing their hand too much. But with that said, I also think there could be a bidding war for him. He could be like a California house. He could get multiple bidders, and they could just keep upping the ante all the time. I mean, he could be the A-Rod. They could have teams bidding against themselves for his services. I mean, that $115 million is the starting point, and every team is going to have to hit the $115 million, and they're going to have to hit the $70 guaranteed. And that's just the starting point. So I hope right now that the Lions are smart enough to just say, this is our offer. We'd love to have you back, but if you can do better, thank you for your services. Because I would hate to have the organization cripple themselves with a Suh contract and then that affect everything down the road. I think he's a phenomenal player. I mean, his talent is unquestioned. He's a disruptive force up the middle, and we all know in the NFL today, that's something you need. You have to get pressure up the middle. That's the way you create havoc within a defense. Everyone can talk about the corners and everything else. Yes, they're vital. You have to have guys that can cover. You need help in those situations. But let's all get real. The true factor within any team is getting pressure up the middle. That's what affects Tom Brady. That's what affects Peyton Manning. That is what creates havoc within a defense. So with that said, what are some of the options the Lions have here? If Suh doesn't come back, what are the Lions going to do? Does Terrell Austin's defense work without Ndamukong Suh? How much of his defense was built around Ndamukong Suh? I'm sure a lot of it. I would. You would. Everyone would. Are they going to be able to create pressure? I believe they can, in my personal opinion, without Suh. I think Terrell Austin will be creative enough to be able to pressure anywhere. He showed that this year. He brought corner blitzes, free safety blitzes, linebacker blitzes. He brought pressure off the edge. He's multifaceted in that situation. I just hope the Lions don't overbid for Ndamukong Suh's services. I think that would be a detriment to the team, and I think it could affect the team a number of years from now. They should give him an offer that will help the team down the road. That's where I'd stand with Suh right now. In my personal opinion, I don't see him coming back to Detroit. I think he's going to go other places for the money, a la Albert Haynesworth. But remember how that all worked out. Albert Haynesworth was the best defensive tackle in the NFL when he went to Washington, and that's the last we ever heard of Albert Haynesworth. Could that be Suh's story? I doubt it, but I also hope not. I hope he actually plays very well wherever he goes. But what will the Lions do? Okay, let's pretend Suh is gone. Let's say he's signed somewhere else. Where would the Lions allocate that money, and where would they spend it? Would it be Byron Maxwell? Would it be Brian Bulaga? C.J. Spiller? What are some of the options here? Obviously, they'd like to re-sign a defensive tackle. Is Nick Fairley an option? Nick Fairley. Nick Fairley is a great talent. You can see it on the field. He shows games, but I think he's a little too much like Shawn Rodgers. If it were me, I don't know if I would sign Nick Fairley. I think I'd offer him a deal, but I think it'd be a lowball deal. Maybe 3 years. I wouldn't go, 5, 6 years or some. I would let another team. I'd let that be their problem. Let's just say that. We've all seen it. I just don't feel that Nick Fairley is Sean Rogers. He is a great player when he wants to be. But is he 100% dedicated? You always hear all these reports that he's dedicated, that he's, got a nutritionist now. He's really watching his weight. Jim Caldwell has sat him down, talked to him. And I just think he should be, I think he might be better off being someone else's problem, someone else's project. I think it was the right draft pick when we made it. He's so talented at Auburn. He basically won that national title game for them. He was a disruptive, dominant force. And that's the way you build a team. You got to build it up front. You don't build it with wide receivers. You don't build it with cornerbacks. You build it up the middle and with a good quarterback. And we'll get into the Stafford stuff later. So if you watch this and saying Stafford stuff, just don't. Kentrell Austin lure Haloti Ngata over here. Could that be an option for the Detroit Lions? There are reports that Ngata will not be back with the Ravens. Now, that could all change. There are reports that Mark Ingram wasn't going to be back, and he just signed a few minutes ago. Could Ngata be an option? Could they get him for 3 or 4 years for a lower price? I mean, instead of the $18 million Suh was getting, could he be a $10 million player? He knows Terrell Austin's system. He's still a dominant force up the middle. And he's just an anchor. That could be a good option for Detroit. And then you could spend the money other places. Remember, that $18 million can go a long way. Back in the day when we signed C.J. Mosley and those guys, we signed about 4 or 5 guys right there for about $10 million. I know the cap is a little higher and the contracts are a little higher, but if Suh doesn't sign with us, is that all bad? It'd be a lot of money to go around. He could fill a lot of holes. I mean, would Randall Cobb be an option? Could we get Byron Maxwell, Brian Balaga, other players I've already mentioned? The player I really like right now that I think would fit the Lions very, very well within their offensive scheme is C.J. Spiller. A lot of reports out there right now that he's interested in coming to the Lions. I think a lot of that has to do with his running backs coach. The running backs coach that's currently with the Lions right now was his running back coach in Buffalo when he had his best year in 2012. A few things I really, really like about C.J. Spiller is that he averages 5 yards a carry for his career. Something I didn't know until I looked it up. He's a really good blocker. He has good hands and game-breaking speed and the size to go with it. He's just not a small guy that can run real fast. He actually has some power behind his runs. He's a good route runner. He can play in the slot. A lot of people forget he's a good receiver out of the backfield. And I think he could play a little modified version of Reggie Bush's role. You know what you're getting with him, too. I mean, a lot of people have us out there drafting all these guys, all these rookies, which I do think we need to draft, or maybe a running back this year. But the problem with that is you don't know what you're going to get. The running back position is one of the hardest positions to evaluate. I mean, we've seen it 100 times, these guys that rush for a ton of yards in college, they come into the pros and they just can't do it for whatever reason. And then these guys come out of nowhere. Arian Foster, countless others here lately have came out of nowhere in the late rounds and just dominate. You know what you're getting with C.J. Spiller. He's a proven pro. He's young. He's fast. I think he's faster than Bush. He doesn't run side to side like Reggie Bush does. Reggie Bush was good when he quit doing the side to side stuff in Miami in his first year with Detroit when he was one cut and go. And that's C.J. Spiller, and I think that fits our offense better. And that gives us options. And I know we have Joique Bell. Before all you Joique Bell fans, I like Joique Bell. But Drake Bell's not enough, and we all know that. And Theo Riddick, yes, he played a nice complementary role because everyone hated Reggie Bush so bad last year. But let's get off Theo Riddick a little bit. He's a nice piece, but he's not the answer to all of our problems at the running back position. I think he can be utilized in certain packages, in certain formations, but let's all get real. He's not going to be any more than what he is. He could develop a little bit further, but his ceiling is kind of right there. If you think he's going to be Marshall Faulk, that's just dumb. But a couple other guys. Well, here's some of the cons for C.J. Spiller. He's going to be a hot back. I think Philadelphia is going to go after him. I think a lot of teams are going to go after C.J. Spiller because why wouldn't you? The biggest issue with him is he can't stay healthy. The guy's hurt all the time. If you play fantasy football, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The guy is hurt constantly. But the bidding war for him the first few days could be insane. And I think the Lions would be a little bit, maybe play the role of the Patriots and the Packers and let everyone else flood the market, set all the prices, and just kind of sit back. And it'd be awesome, if C.J. Spiller was there in a few days after all the dust settled. But I don't know. We'll see. I think some teams could overpay for him. I don't want to see the Lions overpay for him. If that's the case, maybe we do have to go into the NFL draft. And if we do that, we'll talk about this in another show. I really like Duke Johnson. I think the guy's incredible. But if the money for Spiller is going to be too high, I really think that the Lions should look into the draft for a running back, which is a little bit risky, but you can't overspend on the running back position. That's one of the cons here is how much money do you allocate to the running back position in this day and age? We just paid Drake Bell, so do you really pay C.J. Spiller when you just got Reggie Bush off the books? There's something to look at. Some other running backs of note, Justin Forsett, he was okay last year. Ryan Matthews, he's always hurt, just always. It doesn't matter. DeMarco Murray, a lot of carries, hurt a lot, wasn't hurt this contract year, surprise. Mark Ingram just signed, so he's off. He could have been nice, but he's always hurt too. Some other free agents. Well, the Lions signed Matt Prater. I think that's a huge get for the Lions. That was a need that even I thought, hey, let's just address that in the draft. We'll get a low-paid rookie. We see these guys in college now kicking 50-yard field goals. What's the big deal? So we go out and get one of the best college kickers ever, and he's terrible. And then we pick up a veteran kicker, terrible. And then we pick up Prater, and he wasn't great at first, but he seemed to right the ship at the end of the year. And I'm glad that we signed him because I think that's a position that gets overlooked sometimes. We already went over Fairley, Haloti Ngata, Brian Bulaga. Oh, Jared Orderick. Could he be... I would like to see him come to Detroit, but the problem... I'd like to see him come to Detroit and replace Fairley, but I still think you'd have to find someone to maybe get into that Suh role, like that's what I said about Haloti Ngata. Well, that's all I got for today. I really appreciate you guys joining me, and the next show will probably be about who the Lions actually did sign in free agency, and we'll talk to you later.